Okay, this chapter is quadrilaterals. So the last one was polygons. Polygon, remember, is no curves, it's closed, no sides intersect. And of a quadrilateral, the only regular quadrilateral would be called a what? Square. So a parallelogram is a polygon, but it's not regular. I think everyone here knows what a parallelogram is.
Yeah.
The main thing about a parallelogram is opposite sides are congruent. And what else are they?
Four sides. Parallel.
Parallel. So there's different properties.
Does it have to be all the opposite sides?
Yeah. There's different properties of a parallelogram, so I'm just going to put them all in one picture so you can have up here to look at. Typically a parallelogram is like that. Sometimes they go up. Sometimes they're wide or short or whatever. But
Could it be like a diamond shape too?
a diamond, which is a rhombus, is a parallelogram. The difference is all the sides are the same length. So opposite sides are congruent. So this side equals that.
A rhombus is a parallelogram?
Yeah. And these two are equal. Now they could all four be the same. If they were, it would be a rhombus, which we're doing later. But that means these two are equal, that means these two are equal. Then also, so everyone knows, well, I'll put this on there. Opposite sides are also parallel. So remember, you put in the filled in triangle to show that they're parallel. So if I put two triangles here and two triangles there, that means they're parallel. You guys all remember that? That mark means parallel? Okay. And then this would be parallel to that. So those are the common ones. Now the ones that are not so common knowledge, but we already have kind of learned here. Since this line's parallel to this one, if you look at just these two lines here, forget about that. If I redrew it, extending this out, it would look like this, right? A little more of an angle, but whatever. Since these lines are parallel, you got corresponding angles are congruent, same side interior are supplementary, alternate interior congruent, all that stuff with parallel lines. What do you know about this angle and this angle? They got to add up to 180 because they're same side interior. So these two are complementary and these two are complementary, right?
Yeah.
Also, if you tipped it and looked at it, since this is parallel to that, these two are same side interior, so they're complementary, and so are these two. So, consecutive angles, any set of consecutive angles are supplementary. Consecutive means in a row. So if you pick any two angles in a row in a parallelogram, they'll always add up to 180. These two, these two, these two, these two, whichever two that are in a row. So if you know one of the angles, you can figure out all the other angles, right? If this angle right here was 70, what would this have to be?
70.
No.
Oh, 140.
110.
Yes.
So then if this is 70, this is 110, right?
Yeah.
Is that it all equals 100?
And then this would have to be 70. So, in a parallelogram, you can think of it two ways. Any set, two angles in a row adds up to 180. And also, opposite angles are congruent. This angle is going to equal this angle. Remember the example I had, they were both 70. And these two were both 110. So, these two angles are going to equal each other. Every single time in a parallelogram. Opposite angles are congruent. And then the last one, I think that's all they do today. Yeah.
Sweet.
If you drew in diagonals, diagonals just connecting the vertices, the diagonals bisect each other.
Supplementary means 180.
Yep. Do you remember what bisect means?
Go through.
It does go through, but it's the middle, which means it cuts it into two equal pieces. So that means this length right here is going to equal this length there, and this length will equal this length. So these are all the things true of a parallelogram. So all of our problems today are going to be finding missing lengths, missing angles, stuff like that.
Let's just get the assignment and move on.
So here, it's a parallelogram. They've got it drawn in that the sides are parallel. Find the unknown length. How long would TU be? 12, because this is 12. How long would WT be?
14.
14, because that's 14. Okay? Here, if this is 135, the opposite angle is also 135. And then these two will be equal and they'll be supplementary. 45. So they're looking for angle L, which is this angle, so angle L.
in a parallelogram, they're always supplementary.
Any two in a row would be supplementary, yep. But then opposite ones are equal to each other. So, here we've got some where you gotta write an equation. To find x, it tells us this angle right here is 9x plus 2, and this angle right here is 12x minus 34. What do you know about these two angles? They're equal. So that's your equation. 9x plus 2 has to equal 12x minus 34. And then you solve the equation. You guys starting to see in geometry, there's really only two equations you write. They're either going to equal each other, or they're going to add up to equal usually 180 or 90. Those are really the only two equations we do in geometry. So, get the x's together on one side, subtract 9x. So then get the non-x's here, it's a minus, so add 34. Drop the equal sign down, divide by 3, and you get 12. Now here, there's two types of problems in there. They want us to find the measure of angle D, which is this one, and when it's just EH, that's a length. So, if you notice here, this is where it's kind of confusing, so everyone watch this. In this picture, it looks like this angle is 50 because the 50 is in between those two.
And the other angle is half of that angle, so it'd be 75.
But the whole thing is 50 because they've got this line right there. I don't know why they don't just put the 50 over the line, but they don't. They draw it in there, so that means this whole thing is 50.
So D equals 50.
So D also equals 50, right? Okay?
So when it says M equals D, just find what D is?
M means measure. Measure of angle D.
EH, would that just be 8? Because it looks like GH is 8.
EH would just be 8, correct? Because this is 8. Alright? And then the little tougher ones now is to solve for y and solve for x. Here's the y, and it stands for this length.
So 6y minus 9 equals 21.
Right. 6y minus 9 has to equal 21. So then you solve it. Add 9, 6y equals 30, divide by 6, and you get y equals 5. And then to find x, here's the x, which is a degree, and it stands for this whole angle. Well, we can figure out what that angle is, right?
Supplementary.
If this is 50, this has to be 130. So 7x plus 4 has to equal 130. So subtract 4. And then divide by 7. And that is 20, what? 18. Okay. So here's a word problem. They're just wondering if it makes a parallelogram. So you kind of got to sketch a little picture. It says a gemstone is cut so one of its facets. Do you know what a facet is on a gemstone or a diamond? Yeah, it's the side of it.
Wow.
So it has 4 sides. So basically all you got to do is draw something that has 4 sides. The measures of consecutive angles, so that means in a row, are 45. So you could start anywhere. And then 135. And then 135. And then 45. Since it's consecutive, that means it goes in a row. So they're wondering if you had something like this. Now remember, I didn't draw this. Obviously, this isn't a 135, but it's just to look at. Could this be a parallelogram? Why not?
Because yeah.
Yeah, consecutive angles here are not supplementary,
But they're also not.
or here, and also opposite angles aren't congruent.
Would we have to say why or not?
Yeah, if it said to explain, you could put either one of those 2 answers. Okay.